Hi, Cosmic Soul family. Ella Ivy here, lives on astrology. I was called to do a live today because I'm really excited about this new creation that I've been working on. I haven't been online for a couple of months. I've still been doing social media behind the scenes, but this particular chapter in my life, I guess I'm really feeling the Pluto in Aquarius and feeling the need to really give back to our community, and especially for those people who really love astrology and want to learn it and seem overwhelmed by it. Because I remember when I first started this journey, gosh, back in 2000, gosh, I had my first chart session in 2003. So, and one good chart session, man, and that's it. You're like an astrology lover for life. And that's what this particular creation is meant to do. So I created something, and I don't want to go too far into it because it's still in its beta testing mode, but I wanted to show you one of the functions that was unintentional in creating this, but I was really excited that it had this function to do this. So I kind of wanted to go into a little bit of the astrology app and plug in some of the configurations today, because as I'm looking at my phone too while I'm talking to you guys. The moon has ingressed into Capricorn. We've got Pluto in Aquarius, of course. We've got Mars in Aquarius. We've got this beautiful stellium happening actually with Vesta and Vulcan. We've got the sun in Aquarius right now, 25 degrees. We've got Venus in Pisces. We've got the North Node in Pisces, and they're conjunct within 5 degrees. We've also got Mercury, how we think in Pisces. We've also got this running stellium too, because the midhaven, and it looks like I'm still learning some of these asteroids, but it looks like Polis, and of course Saturn's in its last anaretic degree in Pisces, so it's getting ready to conjunct Neptune, and then it's going to be exact conjunct on the 20th. So that's really exciting. But what I wanted to show you in terms of, as you get more into astrology and learn the language, because that's all astrology is, it's a language used to describe consciousness, to describe the energies and the happenings around you, things that are going on deeply inside of you. It gives you voice about these happenings without judgment. And so that was sort of the inspiration, is just really, again, being able to give to the collective energy in a very abundant way. I've got this image in the background. Again, this to me is very Pluto and Aquarius right now, things about technology, decentralization, self-gnosis, right? So it's not about anybody telling you any more about yourself. It's you, tapping into the field of consciousness. And when you learn certain definitions about these archetypes, especially in relation to astrology and using the language of astrology, then it gives you more definition about yourself. And you can take it or leave it. They're just archetypical energies that have been traveling around the cosmos since probably the beginning, whenever that is, or there is really no beginning, the beginning of this particular construct, let's just say. So astrology has been around for a long, long time, and it has a particular language wrapped around it. So this app is, in its heart, is here to help just learn the language and learn more about yourself in a very neutral and hopefully loving and empowering way. So I'm going to screen share kind of like this interesting, like I said, find. I didn't know the app was going to do this, but as I was going through it, it just sort of organically came out, and I wanted to share one of the features, especially about relation today. Okay, so let's go ahead and screen share what we got going on here. And yeah, so here it is. This is the creation of AstroLingo. Sorry, I didn't have it on the first page. So again, the intention here is to really, for those that are newbies, that really are just learning astrology and want to know the basics. So you start with the How Astrology Works page, right? And so you go into what is astrology. I go into a little bit of, I created a metaphor, like if the life was a stage, the movie, our life was a movie, then the chart would be the stage that the movie was played on. The houses are the different areas of the stage where the scenes begin. And then the planets are the actors, and the signs describe how each actor plays their role, right? So then you can go and explore the houses. You can actually do a hover. And if you want to explore more of the 12th house, then all you have to do is click on the 12th house, and you can see there's definitions there that talk about what the 12th house is ruled by. So if again, using the metaphor, if life was a stage, then this is the stage area. This is, where the action takes place. And then, of course, we've got the actor, which is going to be the planet itself. And that's how the energy is being acted out. So in the 12th house right here, you can see that Neptune is the major actor for that house. And then how Pisces or Neptune plays itself out is through the sign, right? So it's like the energy that the actor brings to that particular house. So in Pisces, Neptune plays compassionately and mystically, empathic, dreamlike, and transcendent. And then you can see here for added value, I just added some more information. The modern ruler of Neptune, of course, of the 12th house. There's also a traditional ruler of the 12th house, which would be Jupiter before they discovered Neptune. And then it talks about some of their energies together, right? They express Pisces' connection to both the mystical and the meaningful. So that's the beginning part of this. And then what I wanted to show you, which I found very interesting. So if you're just beginning, this is what how it begins. Okay, this is your translation space. AstroLingo helps you explore astrology symbols using what you already know: planet signs, houses that you may have countered before. So, say for example, because this app doesn't have this feature yet, but say you wanted to know your birth chart information, you would need your date of birth, your time of birth, and your location of birth, right? So, this is not what this app is. This is actually the language to explore once you go. So, say you go to astro.com, right? Put in all your birth chart information, and then you can find out exactly, well, where is your sun sign? Where is your moon sign? What's your ascendant? You know, what sign is your Venus in, and Mercury, and whatnot, right? But then to go even deeper, you see this chart that can seem almost overwhelming. And then you go, what do I do with this, right? How do I interpret this? So that's what this app is for. Again, it's for very new people to astrology. And I've did some feedback. I did like a pre-beta testing, and people said that they wanted to make it more personalized, right? So today we're going to do the collective is going to be the name for this particular feedback, because what we're going to be doing, and again, I didn't realize that this was going to be part of the creation, but I thought, why not do this today and give you like a daily synopsis, or at least a 2-day synopsis, because the moon travels through a sign every 2.5 days. So I thought, what if we put the placements in based on where we are today? So, for example, so what you're doing is you're highlighting the planet you want to know. So there's the sun. It gives you a little bit of a definition about what the sun is, and then it gives you an option on the sign that the sun is in. So we know today the sun is in Aquarius. So it gives you a little bit more of a definition about Aquarius, and what it represents, keywords, and understanding the sign. And then if you know your house placements, you can choose the house placements if you'd like, right? That again, you would have to know your longitude and latitude for this. But so let's say, for example, you don't know it because it's optional. Let's just go ahead and add that to the chart. And you're going to see, I'll show you how we're going to do this. So now we go back up. We know that the moon, we said, was in Capricorn, right? So let's highlight the moon. And again, we're going to put it into Capricorn. There it is. We don't know the house, so we're going to leave that. That's for further in depth. So you can see here your placements is starting to collect data, right? And so we don't know the ascendant because we don't know where you're at, but we know that Mercury right now, we said, was in Pisces, right? So we're going to highlight Mercury. We're going to highlight Pisces. It's going to give you a little bit of a descriptor there, how you sense, dreamy, imaginative. We don't know the house placement, so we're just going to add the Mercury placement. We're going to scroll back up, and we know that Venus right now, we said, is in Pisces. So we're going to also click onto the Pisces symbol here, and then we're going to add the Venus placement. And let's keep going. What we do know, we know that we said Mars was in Aquarius, right? So yeah, 16 degrees. So let's go and place Mars in Aquarius. Here we go. We're going to add that Mars placement there. And we're going to go up and see. And this is just the main nine planets, 1, 2, 3, and then the ascendant. Yeah. So let's go ahead to Jupiter. We know that Jupiter is in Cancer right now because it's a long transit. It happens a year transit. We don't know the house placement because it depends on your longitude, latitude. Then we're going to go to Saturn. Saturn is, we know right now in, well, it's just entering. Let's see, has it entered Aries yet? It's within 2 minutes. So it's going to be entering Aries today. So let's go ahead and put Aries just for funsies. Actually, no, let's put the anaretic at Pisces, and then we can go back and look at the difference when it says Aries, because that might be fun. So let's go ahead and add the Saturn placement there. And then I'm going to add Uranus. We know that Uranus is in the last stages of Taurus. It's going to be ingressing into Gemini, but we're still in Taurus right now. So we want to be, the most accurate as we can for today. And then let's go back up. We're going to click onto Neptune. Now we know for sure Neptune is in Aries. So we're going to go ahead and click on Aries and add the Neptune placement. And then we're going to, here we go, last planet, Pluto. We know Pluto is in Aquarius. So we're going to add the Aquarius symbol there. We're going to add the Pluto placement. And there we go. Now we're going to generate your pattern. So let's see here. How come it's not generating pattern? Is it making me do an ascendant? I guess so. So let's go ahead and do ascendant. This is why I'm doing this. Let's see an ascendant. We're going to add my ascendant in Sag because that's okay. Here we go. So add writing placement. Okay, there we go. So now we can generate the summary. Okay. So this is what it does. It tells you exactly, this is your pattern at a glance, and this is today's energy. Okay. So it's kind of, yeah, this is the sun, the moon, Pisces, Mercury in Pisces. We can see Venus is in Pisces, right? So this is letting you know where everything is in the chart, okay? Because we don't know the houses. That's why if we knew the exact time and date, they would put it in the houses. So the first part of this talks about the type of pattern that the chart is in. So right now, the core vibe of this collective pattern that we're in is, I'll just go ahead and read it. Collective, and this is for you, anybody watching this right now. Your energy is oriented towards ideas, communication, and connection. You tend to experience mental clarity and communication as guides. Internally, this can show up as thoughts that need space to move or connect. You may feel most at ease when you're allowed to move through responsible rhythms, engage with what truly matters to you, and honor your own pace. Others often notice warmth, enthusiasm, or action oriented approach to your presence. And even without effort, you may come across as optimistic, sincere, or grounded in your truth. A reoccurring pattern in your life may involve staying open to new perspectives without abandoning what you know to be true. This pattern isn't something to fix, it's a way awareness naturally moves through the world. Okay, so it talks about strengths and maybe some growth edges. So when you're at your best, you engage detachedly with experiences rather than skimming the surface. People often experience you as someone who offers realistic presence even in uncertain moments. You build momentum by staying expansive and consistent, letting small actions compound over time. A natural gift you can rely on is your fluid approach to what matters. Your steadiness shows up when you remain spiritual, even when circumstances shift around you. And these are your growth edges: staying with one feeling without analyzing it into something else, allowing emotional messiness without needing to organize it immediately, and noticing patterns that repeat and asking what they're trying to teach you. So, this is just kind of like a daily overview based on the cycles. Now, I'm going to have to, I was a little glitchy here. This is why I'm doing the beta testing, because I want to make sure that you can be able to generate a pattern summary no matter how many planets you have, right? So most people, they do the top three. So I'll show you top three, for example, if you're playing with this app and you just want to know your top three, right? So I'll just go ahead and use mine and show you. And it's pretty easy to get back to. So right here, I know that my sun is in Scorpio. So I'm going to go ahead and do Scorpio. I know that my sun is in Scorpio in the 11th house. So I'll go ahead and add that. I'm going to add the sun placement, and then you see how it goes into the chart. So it tells you right there. And then if you hover over it, it tells you a little bit about what's going on there. So let's keep going. The moon, let's see. My moon is also in Scorpio in the 12th house. So we'll go ahead and do that. I'll add the moon placement. And I know for a fact that my rising is Sagittarius, what I've come to learn, right? How I've come to embrace the world. What people see first is they see my Sag. People get surprised when they say, they're like, are you Scorpio? You don't seem like a Scorpio. Or did I put this in the house? Oh, no, there's no house. Okay, right. Okay, so now I can generate my pattern. I can see at a glance here that I've got my sun in Scorpio. I've got my moon in Scorpio, and then the ascendant, of course, is in Sagittarius. So I'm going to go ahead and generate my pattern and see what it says. So this particular configuration talks about a bundle pattern. And you can go and read the definition for that. I'm just showing you how it shows up, because again, I just used the top three, okay? But then it gives you a collective pattern, right? Your own pattern. So it'll have your name. So this is Ella. If I wanted to go back and actually personalize this, I could put Ella, right? So there we go. So now for Ella, I'm going to generate my pattern. Here you go. So Ella's pattern, there we go. Ella, your energy is oriented towards sensitivity, compassion, and inner awareness. You tend to experience the world through emotional undercurrents and unspoken truths. So again, it just gives you a little bit of a synopsis of what the energy that can be you're processing through by knowing these particular configurations. So then, it goes more into internally. You can show up as intuition. Others often noticing you as initiation energy. So you can just go on and read on strengths in motion, and then growth edges. And what I love about this is that for people that are loving astrology and they want to go further into it, well, this right here is where you can explore the symbols. And I really love this because I think that just even memorizing the symbols, sometimes if you sit with the symbols themselves, they tell you a whole nother story. But if again, for basics, if you want to learn what the symbols are, what they mean, then this is what this page is for. Okay. So this is, you can do either a large or small, right? I like the large because I wear glasses. But say, so I want to learn about the sun. So this is the symbol for a sun. And I would recommend anybody that's using this app to actually draw it out so you can get really visceral with it, and just really, embodied with the symbols, because symbol memorization is part of being able to really understand the chart, right? It's like understanding hieroglyphics. You got to understand what these things mean. So it gives a little bit of a definition here. It talks about drawing, the circle, playing with it. And then what I added on too, which I really liked, is everyday connections, right? So this, for example, many traditions associate the sun with Sunday, the day of rest and renewal. Many traditions also associate sun with the number one of self, spark, confidence, new beginnings, personal leadership. The colors for the number one, or for the sun rather, are gold, warm yellow, and orange. The crystals you can work with on a Sunday, or the day that's represented by the one or the sun, could be citrine or sunstone. And then, of course, if you're looking for working with essential oils, you can be using sweet orange or frankincense. And again, these are just correspondences. This is not anything for health. This is not health diagnosis. These are just correspondences with astrology and everyday materia, right? The prima materia that shows up in the material realm through astrology, through these embodied energies. So now you can go back to that page. You can even go back to the moon now. And again, you want to study the symbol for the moon. This is the definition, talks about the traditions. So this is a really fun page. And again, that's for the signs as well. So for those of you Gemini out there, you can see this is the symbol for Gemini. This is about, again, learning the symbols. So you might want to go and copy it and take your time memorizing what these symbols are, because and what they mean, because this is going to help you learn how to read your own chart just with more grace and ease, right? So again, let's see. And with this page, I added body correspondence, because the parts of the body, in Greeks, all the doctors used to know astrology, because parts of the body correspond to astrological signs and planets. So this also gives you a little bit of a chart of what Gemini corresponds to. It says Gemini traditionally corresponds to the lungs, arms, and hands, the parts that facilitate exchange, communication, and connection. So you can see that it's highlighted there. And I added a little bit of extra symbolism here with the lungs mean, esoterically, why Gemini's associated with the lungs, because it's Gemini rules the lungs, which exchange oxygen, symbolizing the constant exchange of ideas and information that Gemini energy seeks. Also represents the arms, right? The arms reach out and connect us to others in our environment, reflecting Gemini's sociable, curious nature. The hands and the nervous system, it goes into, again, more of the definitions here. So we're going to go back here, and then of course you also are learning the houses, right? So here's fifth house, talks about, this is a Roman numeral, this is talking about what the fifth house means, house patterns, the element of the house, whether it's a fire fixed or let's see here, fire houses, yeah, whether what the energy is, so the element, right? So we know that the fifth house is going to be a fire house, because the first, fifth, and ninth houses are fire houses. The modality, or how the house moves or sustains itself, is considered fixed, right? Second, fifth, eighth, and 11th are considered the fixed houses. Also, to the timing, how and when this theme of life appears in your experience of the house placements, that's what's called the succeedent houses. That's also the second, fifth, eighth, and 11th, right? So it talks about the elements is what kind of energy, the modalities is how the energy moves, and then the house types is when energy acts. So again, this is for beginners. Some of you may already know these things, but this is for people that don't know anything about astrology, and you need to memorize the symbols, the signs, how to write them, what they, how to read them. And then there's learning groups here. This is really cool too. It breaks it down into fire signs, so you can group it into elements. So your fire signs is going to be your Aries, your Leo, your Sagittarius. And then it goes again, you can map where this is in the body. Sagittarius rules the hips, thighs, and liver. So hips, Sagittarius rules the hips, which enable forward movement and travel, symbolizing Sagittarius's urge to explore and expand horizons. So that's where it takes you back to on that, okay? So you're going to go back to this page and you can highlight all the different element signs, the cardinals, the fixed, and the mutables. Again, redundancy is really good because it teaches you what these things mean, right? And then you want to, let's see, the aspects. So the aspects are great because aspects are how the energies talk to one another. So if you're at a conjunction, you hear a lot of, excuse me, this is where learning astrology, the language itself, is really paramount, because when you hear astrologers talk about how the aspects are, there's a conjunction. We're talking about, like, for example, right now, this major Aries, Neptune, and Saturn conjunction in Aries, right? So what is conjunction? Well, let's take a look at it. That means they're right next to each other. That's the symbol for the conjunction. Again, symbols matter, so you want to memorize that. This is the definition. Conjunction means energies blend together strongly for positive or negative, right? For good or bad, agreeable, disagreeable. When you put two beings in a room together, if they're friends, it's going to have a great time. If they're enemies, not so good. So that's all the conjunction means, is they're forced to be together, right? 0 degrees apart. So when you're looking at the wheel, they're right in alignment with each other. And most astrologers go by, depending on how far out the planet is, they do what's called an orb. They give how impactful the conjunction of these two planets are going to be based on how many degrees apart they are. So some astrologers do 3-degree maximum, some do 5-degree, just really depends. But again, it talks about together, blend, merge, focus, strong. And again, you want to draw this symbol, right, to really memorize what conjunction means, because when all you're doing is looking at hieroglyphics when you're looking at a chart, right? And so we can go see back to your pattern. We can go back and we can go home here. And last but not least, I'm going to show you, this is what the chart is. So this is also part of the chart explorer here. This is what an astrology chart looks like. Right here, we have what highlighted, what are called the cardinal points. And this is your ascendant, your midhaven, your descendant, and your IC. Coli. I don't know how to pronounce that, but I always call it the IC, right? Because I don't know how to pronounce it. But what you're looking at, so right here gives you a little bit of the definition when you're looking at the cardinal points, right? So it talks about the ascendant, your entry point, first impression approach. So it just gives a definition to what the ascendant is. And you can even hover over it and click onto it. Yeah, hover over it. There it is. And then it gives you a little bit of more definition, okay? Now that's for cardinal points. Next are elements. So right now you can see that this is highlighted. The first, fifth, and ninth houses are your fire houses. So you can see Aries is the first spark, initiates fast, acts on instinct, learns by doing. And then you have the fifth house, which is Leo, gives you a little bit of a definition there. And then it goes into more definitions about the fire, earth, air elements and how they, show up in your chart. And so it gives you also a little bit of a call to action. Just, as you're leaning into learning these things, how do you feel today? You might want to start journaling as you're starting to process this information and really get into, learning how to dissect the charts and what all this means. So under the element section, this is what's highlighted here: first, fifth, and ninth. The earth elements, of course, excuse me, go into the second, sixth, and 10th, and it changes colors there. Again, gives you, I see redundancy, repetition. You want to learn these symbols. That's why I was really, I wanted to make sure that the symbols were within the house themselves, so you can get used to looking at it that way. Of course, here are the air elements, water elements, and then the modalities we talked about, again, how the energy, how it moves. This is, we talk about how the energy behaves over time. And so this right here, we talked about the cardinal, right? Cardinal, fixed, and mutable. And again, this all goes into what this means. Again, this is pattern recognition. This is understanding, learning to read the patterns. So you can go back to, let's see, the home button. And here we go to the first page, right? So, and also I wanted to show you, I think I showed you everything. Oh yeah, and the glossary here, it just gives you all the definitions for a beginning learner. Think of it like what is it when you buy uh, an educational tool or a PDF about astrology, but it's online, right? It's digital. And then so again, you can go into the houses. This is all the glossary here. So you can start off with the houses, start off with the planets. Again, and which I like here, you can go and there's all the words associated with the sun and the planets, the planet or the luminary of the sun, rather. Then you can go into the signs. So here's Aries, again, give you more definitions associated with Aries, the aspects. We just talked about that, the conjunctions. So you see that there. It gives you more definition about what conjunctions are. Or, if you want to do a square, that's what the square is. So it shows you the degree point there and the words associated with that. And then the basics here, just what they mean. What is a birth chart? What's a natal chart? What's your birth time? Rising sign, sun, et cetera, et cetera. And then this is what's interesting too. This is the patterns that we talked about. Again, redundancy, because this is how we learn to anchor in reading these glyphs on the chart. So we go into the elements, of course. Here's fire. We talked about first, fifth, and ninth. There's your earth, your air, your water, right? Your fourth, eighth, and 12th. And then it talks about, a little bit of the definition, what they are. It goes also in further into the fire signs, earth signs, again, really learning what they mean. Then you can go into the modalities, and we talked about that before, and what exactly the modalities are. It's how a sign moves through time, right? So some start, some stabilize, some adapt. So the starters are going to be your first house, your stabilize is going to be your fourth, and then your adaption is going to, or I'm sorry, your, wait a minute, what am I looking at here? Oh yeah, fourth, am I looking at, what am I looking, oh, cardon, that's why I thought it was a fixed. So these are your fixed energies, and then this is your mutable energy. And again, it gives you the definitions of what these mean. Okay, so it's up to you to kind of just go and play around. And again, when you hover and highlight, you should be able to highlight, there it is, what exactly means. A 10th house, strategic builder, commits long term, carries responsibility, climbs patiently. So again, these are the basic fundamentals of how the chart is laid out. And hopefully it's a way for you to memorize and have fun with it and be interactive with it. And what I liked about this too, so it gives you an astrology word of the day. So if you just want to open your app and you just want to say, okay, what astrology word, if you're learning astrology, right? Redundancy. Well, what astrology word of the day is? So the moon sign. Well, we learned the moon's in Capricorn, right? So we know that the moon is a clue about your feelings and needs. So you can tap onto it and it will take you to the glossary and give you more definitions that go with the moon. Okay. And then let's see here. So show me today's symbol. This is also a symbol. Okay, so today is Pluto. So then, and I like to play with this too. Like, okay, Pluto's talking to me because that's the symbol that wanted to be highlight. So it talks about what Pluto wants you to do. We know that Pluto's in Aquarius right now. It wants you to help transform deeply in what? Aquarius. So go look up Aquarius. We know Pluto's in Aquarius. So what are we powerfully changing? Rebirth, truth, intense. I mean, where is this showing up? And then you can see also everyday connections, which I wanted to bring in some more awareness about how Pluto shows up, right? So it shows up in deep transformations, powerful truths. It also is associated with the number 1 or 0 rather, of deep change, power, rebirth. The colors associated with Pluto are deep burgundy, black, obsidian. The crystals are obsidian and malachite, and then the essential oils on a Pluto transit, especially if you're wanting to pull in power or rebirth or knowing you're in this deep change. I'm thinking rebirth. Myrrh is the oil for mother, right? Frankincense is for father. And then cypress is your grounder, right? It helps elevate you while keeping you grounded during these somewhat intense times. So that's part of just, you know, the intention going back to, what this particular app is signifying. And yeah, just um yeah. So I'm excited to share this. And yeah, just wanted to let you know what I've been doing, where I'm at, and I'm going to be doing a webinar talking about this particular app and going over exactly what it does. This is, again, still in beta testing mode, so it's not perfected, but it will definitely it's room to grow. It's just something that's new, that's been birthed through me, and I'm really excited to share it. So yeah, stay tuned. Keep in touch, keep subscribed to Lives in Astrology, and I'm looking forward to seeing you I'll put the link below of when this particular uh, workshop's going to be using the app. Okay. All right. Have a good one, guys. Thank you. Bye.